right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Ken, and thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Richie Walsh. I'll be joined by Jason Mackey for tonight's show. Give us a call, 412-575-2600 is the number. We've got a lot to talk about. Steelers coaching search right now. Also, Bucco Fever, Pirate Fest underway. And Jason, I think O'Neal Cruz, he said he thinks his team is going to be a lot better this year. Do you think so? What do you make? You were at Pirate Fest all day today, talked to the new guys. What do you make of what he said, and do you think it's going to help him?
Yeah, Richie, I liked what O'Neal Cruz said. I liked how O'Neal Cruz looked. Shaved off the dreadlocks, kind of a new look for him. But he talked a lot about this offseason, wanting to get back to work immediately, recognizing that he had a whole lot of work to do. I think anybody that watched O'Neal in 2025, you could see that. It's great to hear him admit it. This is an important year for him. To me, it's a make or break kind of season, and it starts in the offseason. So he seemingly had a really good offseason. I mean, I'm pretty bullish on the Pirates, Richie. I don't think they're done. They shouldn't be done. But what they've done so far, it's been pretty impressive. Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn, they were not there today. But a couple of bats, if you add some offense around this pitching, I think they could have something.
I think what's not talked about enough is what do bats like O'Hearn and Lau do for O'Neal Cruz? I mean, do we finally get to see what O'Neal Cruz can do? Is he a superstar or not?
Yeah, so that was a topic of conversation. We talked to Spencer Horwitz, O'Neal Cruz. Brian Reynolds was not there because of travel stuff. Same for Lau and O'Hearn. But all of a sudden, the Pirates lineup, you can go 5 or 6 deep before you start asking questions. Why is this guy in this spot, right? And I think it gives O'Neal Cruz some protection. His answer is the same as Spencer Horwitz, basically saying if they're hitting before or after us, doesn't matter. We have a deeper lineup. There's a lot more confidence in the hitters around. And I mean, if you're at a point where, I don't know, you have Henry Davis or Jared Triolo hitting 8th or 9th, that's pretty good. And I even have some confidence that those guys can figure it out. But again, like I said, this should be a much deeper lineup. And when you blend that with the pitching staff, it's pretty good.
All right, well, the Steelers have to figure it out. They had their final interview of the week. Anthony Weaver came in, the former Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator. That leads us to our Penn West University question of the night. Just scan that QR code in the right-hand corner of your screen. How would you feel about Anthony Weaver as the Steelers' next head coach? Jason, what would you think? Would you be surprised? I would.
I would be surprised, Richie. And I can't say that Anthony Weaver would be my number one choice. You and I talked before this show. I mean, I'm very much on the Chris Schula bandwagon. I think a lot of people have gotten there mentally. And I'm probably in the minority. I don't know. You were trying to make me feel better about it. I would be fine with Mike McCarthy, man. I think he does a lot of good things for quarterbacks. The Steelers need that. Maybe it is bring back Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers redux, whatever. I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. Now, would I like Mike McCarthy as an offensive coordinator more than a head coach? Yes. And I think Chris Schula as a head coach makes a ton of sense. I just don't see how Anthony Weaver fits into that equation.
Yeah, I was told, if you go with a young guy, that there would be a potential hire of a former head coach at one of the coordinator positions. So this kind of is in line with that and makes sense if McCarthy doesn't get the head job. Maybe he would take a hometown coordinator job if Schula gets it.
Yeah, and we were talking about this on the Fan Morning Show this morning, and I happen to think McCarthy would. That's the sense I got. I talked to him, I think, back in July or August for an Aaron Rodgers column, and he has a ton of respect for the Steelers. He had a ton of respect for Mike Tomlin, and I think if he was given the opportunity to work here, I don't think he would take a coordinator job in any city. But if you give that to him in Pittsburgh, 1, I think he would take it. And 2, I think he needs to take it. I think where Mike McCarthy is, kind of what his stock looks like throughout the NFL, he could stand to take a coordinator position. And then if you can rehabilitate the Steelers offense, which I would agree is probably, 1 or 2 wide receivers, actual tight end usage, and a quarterback away from being halfway decent, then he could probably get himself involved in the next cycle of NFL head coaches.
Well, at this point, Jason, you would think he would need to take some kind of job because he's been on the shelf for over a year. And a coordinator job in his hometown, I think, would make sense. I agree with you. He maybe wouldn't take one if it was L.A. or Arizona or something like that. But, coming back home, getting his name back out there. I know it's still out there. But the fact that you get to a point after your last job that you got fired and you keep getting turned down for jobs and you got these new and up-and-coming guys, you got to get back into the game somehow, and I think this is an avenue.
Yeah, and Mike McCarthy loves the game. That was another part of our conversation. Like, he wants to get back in it. He wants to be a head coach. So how do you get from A to B? And, I mean, we're seeing with this hiring cycle, Jesse Minter, the last one to go, Chris Schula, all of the attraction with him, the Kubiak brothers. You're seeing a lot of younger coaches get opportunities, and I don't think that's going to happen for McCarthy unless he takes that intermediary step of being an offensive coordinator somewhere. I think the Steelers would really like him in that position. I think he would do well too, Richie.
Yeah, a couple years at that, maybe you're back in the ball game again and getting a head job. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from the Steelers. They've completed their in-person interview with Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver for the head coaching position. I mean, when you look at odds, and I'm not really paying too much attention, but Chris Schula is the favorite in every single betting odds makers categories or whatever. But you go back 19 years, Mike Tomlin wasn't even probably on a list of betting odds. Everyone thought that Russ Grimm or Wisenhunt would get the job, and neither did, and Mike Tomlin impressed them. And maybe this happens here with Anthony Weaver. But I do think, where there's smoke, there's fire. It seems like everything that the Steelers want, Chris Schula has. He's a good leader. He's worked every basically position, worked his way up. And, they have a successful defense over in L.A., that team is in the NFC Championship, and he did it with the lowest paid defense in the NFL. Also did it without our guy Aaron Donald from Pitt, who retired on him.
Richie, I love that. That might be the single biggest trait to me with Chris Schula. The fact that he put a defense out there you didn't have to spend a lot of money to put together, and they were talented. They did not have, again, the best player in football for a while in Aaron Donald. This guy clearly knows defense. I also like that he's part of this Sean McVay coaching tree. The more you read about this, the more intriguing it is to me. Brian Batko at the Post-Gazette did an excellent story this week on why the Sean McVay coaching tree works. And one of the things McVay does is delegating a lot of authority, giving his assistants responsibility, teaching them what it is to coach. And I don't think that's something Mike Tomlin did a good enough job of. I think that's why there was no Tomlin tree in a gigantic Sean McVay tree. So I think that's going to be a big change too. Whoever you hire as defensive coordinator, empower that person. Don't handcuff them like they did Terrell Austin. I think the Steelers need a big philosophical shift that way.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got Robin in Blairsville. How you doing, Robin?
Hi. You know what? I love Jason, but I disagree. I don't think that Mike McCarthy should come because he's like a has-been, you know what I mean? And he's 63 years old.
Robin, thanks a lot. I wouldn't call him a has-been at all. He's he's an offensive innovator. I mean, he did some good things. He has a Super Bowl win. He beat Mike Tomlin's team. I know that was, 2010, but look at his record in Dallas. I know he struggled not being able to win the big game, and that was the problem and why he got fired there. But that was the problem here with Mike Tomlin. But you look at his record is outstanding in Dallas.
Richie, I have a tough time taking anybody in Dallas seriously. And what I mean by that is just dealing with the circus that is Jerry Jones. I mean, you were handcuffed there, man. Like, that is not a good place to work, not a good place to coach. It would be a completely different atmosphere for Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh and the autonomy that he was given, even as an offensive coordinator under Chris Schula, I would have to think. So, I don't think Mike McCarthy has, kind of lost his edge or lost his knowledge or something like that. Maybe you don't like him as a head coach because you want the Steelers to go younger. They're not going to have to change for a while. I get that. That's a fair opinion. But I don't think the guy suddenly turned stupid.
Here's maybe the big question is if they do hire Schula, and I would expect him to get an in-person interview next week. They can, even whether the Rams win or lose, he'll probably be in town Monday or Tuesday. But can you force McCarthy on Schula, or do you think he'd want to bring his own guy in here?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, Richie. Nate Scheelhaus. Does he interview? I don't know. I mean, it's an accomplished guy who really hasn't called plays all that much. Like, maybe he gets an opportunity here.
Do we know if they're close? Because I don't even know that.
I don't know.
I know they're on the same staff, but who knows if he'd even want to bring him?
Yeah, I don't know. And who knows if Chris Schula's presented this opportunity, maybe he thinks a lot of Mike McCarthy. I think that would make a lot of sense too. Hey, if I'm a first-time head coach, I would value one of my offensive coordinator or my defensive coordinator being a former coach, especially in Pittsburgh. Like, Chris Schula has to understand that he's working for the Rooneys. He's not going to get canned this year, next year, 3 years down the road. He has that sort of license. You can have somebody on your staff like that and not feel threatened. I think Mike McCarthy knows how it's done. That would be an asset.
I think so too, but then on the flip side, You alluded to it. You don't want anyone stepping on your toes either, right? Maybe
no, but McCarthy's been in that spot, man. Like
yeah.
I don't think he would do that to a head coach. I think he would, worry about his side of the ball and probably have a lot of fun not having the responsibility.
All right, let's go out to Larry in Baldwin Township. How you doing, Larry?
Hi. I want to call my opinion about, I'm not a fan of Art Rooney Jr. I always believed Dan Rooney, God rest his soul, was the one who brought in all the coaches, and he even brought in some key players at different times. So
I mean, Art Rooney II, not Art Rooney Jr., but Art Rooney II, he was involved in the Tomlin hire. So I'm not blaming him, but I do think they need to start thinking more offensive. That's the way the game is trending. I don't think it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust anymore.
No, and I mean, the Steelers haven't won. They haven't won in the playoffs. That criticism is going to come. I mean, we were talking about this on the morning show, Richie. Stephen Ross from Miami, did you see him forget his head coach's name? I know this is sort of a sideways thing, but he legit forgot his head coach's name. Art Rooney II's not there. Let's think about some of the good stuff that Art Rooney II does too. Like, he's not meddlesome. He's not going to lose faith in somebody after a season. He knows people's names, for crying out loud. Like, I understand the frustration because they haven't won. That's fair. But to sit here and call this guy and them just a terrible ownership group or something, I can't go there.
I mean, frankly, he said he would have kept him around. He was expected to keep him around for another year. That's what he said at his press conference.
And I don't agree with that. Like, that's too passive. That can be criticized too. But to overall say he's a bad owner, I'm not going there.
I kind of see where he's coming from, though. He said he doesn't want to give up a year of his life being bad, right? They always want to win, and I get that. I don't know if other people understand that philosophy. I get the other side, too. You look at teams like Houston. You look at teams like Philly. They were really bad, and they got really good. I think you need to get really bad to get that draft capital for a couple years, but that's not their philosophy.
Yeah, you're right, Richie. And you need to get that draft capital to get that quarterback, right? It's the most important position in sports. The Steelers have been chasing it. I don't understand that part about Art, and I was critical of it when he said it, and I still don't understand it. That's how you got Ben. That's how you got your last Super Bowl. Like, he should be well aware that's what is required to win in the NFL, to have a quarterback. How do you get the quarterback? Pick high in the draft. You're not going to get a quarterback, or your odds are significantly diminished picking 21st.
Yeah, and you saw what they've been trying to do, since Ben retired, the last 5 years. They can't find a quarterback. The veteran thing isn't working right now. I mean, although Aaron Rodgers might be your best bet to come back next year, the situation they're in, unless you're going to go with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard or something like that. Let's go out to Dave in Mount Lebo. How you doing, Dave?
Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
I changed the subject a little bit today. Chris, you talked about Eli Heidenreich from Mount Lebanon.
Yeah.
The kid's a stud. I've been watching him since he was a freshman. And I went to a lot of Navy games. I just hope the Steelers take him. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of, two players since 1956 that rushed for more than 425 yards and caught receiving pass yards of 925 yards or more. Tavon Austin was the only other guy to do it. He was invited to the Combine, Jason, and I don't know if you remember him at Mount Lebanon with Alex Texas, and both of them guys went to Navy and did well.
Yep.
He might get an opportunity. I don't know if he's going to get drafted, but hey, I wouldn't count the Steelers out as a landing spot for him if he was an undrafted free agent. I mean, he's a running back / receiver. I feel like he could help. Plus, he's a hometown guy, and sometimes the Steelers do that.
Yeah, they do. And I don't know how that works with the Naval Academy and having to serve, after graduation. At some point, he's going to have to go into the service, but I don't know if that's negotiable. If you have a professional football opportunity waiting for you, it has happened before. As a fun story, sure, but I don't think he's going to come in here. I mean, it's just tough when you come in that offense, and it's nothing against Eli Heidenreich at all. It's just not an NFL-ready position. What are you, a slot back, a wing back? You're kind of a tweener. But, yes, a very good football player, has done a ton of great things. Huge accolades to him and Alex Tessa. I did a story on them a couple years ago. It's just, have all the respect in the world. I just don't know how that translates to the NFL.
I know we have a minute or so before we need to go to break, but one of the priorities for the Steelers, no matter who the quarterback is next year, they have to find a complement to DK Metcalf. They need another wide receiver, whether it's trying to get a Brandon Ayuk because he's going to be done in San Francisco, coming here for a year or two or whatever the deal is, or drafted someone high, like a first-round draft pick. Because I don't think there's a quarterback they're going to take in the first round. So I'd imagine you got to look at other positions, and wide receiver is the most glaring like it was the last 2 years.
Richie, that's one upshot for me of taking Aaron Rodgers, or bringing Aaron Rodgers back, I should say, that you don't have to take a quarterback in the draft. At least I wouldn't. I would sort of kick the can down the road a little bit. I'd use my first-round pick on a wide receiver. I think they can. That's a much better position talent-wise to get somebody where they're picking. But yes, absolutely. They need to add at least one weapon, maybe two around him. If Calvin Austin's like a 3, maybe 4, I'd like this offense a lot more.
And I wouldn't mind Ayuk, too, if they kick the tires on him. They did a couple years ago, and he's worn out his welcome in San Francisco. I don't know really what happened there.
Yeah.
But, hey, give him another shot.
I'd try to get somebody
Resurrect
for cheaper,
his career,
though. Somebody,
right?
Yeah, I guess.
No?
I'd kind of like somebody cheaper that I have for more years than I do Ayuk. I don't know whether Ayuk's a head case. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. But at this point, I think I might prefer the draft just because I know I can get somebody coming in on a rookie deal to hopefully overperform that for a couple of years.
Well, they definitely need someone. There's no question about it. Because Thielen retired. Calvin Austin might not be coming back. He's done. Roman Wilson, who knows what? I think he's finished.
We're done.
They have nobody, right? And they don't throw to Pat Freiermuth until the end of the game, which I never understand. 9 years ago, we were covering a team that was vying for an AFC championship. That's not the case anymore, Jason, but there are 2 big games tomorrow. We have about 35 seconds. I'd like to get your opinion on both games, who you like to win.
Who's playing, Richie?
Who cares, right?
I know, it's kind of a bummer.
I know it is.
I guess the Patriots, I think this is Drake May's time. I'm not buying the Broncos. I haven't for much of the season. I think the bottom could fall out, and I think the Seattle Seahawks get it done. Jackson Smith-Njigba has a big game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say the 2 favorites, too. Jarrett Stidham, I don't know about. Never believed in Denver. And I do really like the Rams, but I think Seattle's the best team in the NFL. Thanks a lot, Jason. See you next week. Hopefully we see you on KDK News right now.